Hey everybody, welcome back to Furniture Flipping Teacher. In today's video, I am going to be showing you how to upcycle and DIY some lamps. All right, so I got these lamps at the thrift store for just $8 each. And I think that this is a perfect DIY if you are on a budget, but you want some more like trendy lamps, but you don't want to spend a fortune on a brand new lamp or a set of lamps, because honestly, lamps can get quite pricey. So I'm going to show you exactly how we can get a higher end looking lamp for a lot less. I don't know if I would consider like reselling these for profit, because I don't know, I don't have enough experience with selling lamps on something like Facebook Marketplace, but it is at least a good DIY project, maybe for your own home if you're on a budget and you just like to be creative sometimes. You can often find really nicely shaped lamps at the thrift store, such as these, but maybe the finish or the look or the color just isn't your cup of tea, but we can work with this shape and then we can give it a new look. So first things first, I am going to go ahead and clean. We're going to get these stickers off here, and then I am going to make sure and tape off anywhere that I don't want my products to be going on the lamp. Let's do it. Now that I got those stickers off, which thank goodness they were not too bad coming off of the surface. Sometimes stickers can be a little iffy, but now it's time to clean. I'm just gonna use some simple green. And if you watch my other videos, you know that I always start by cleaning my furniture, and it's gonna be no different with basically anything that I like to DIY, because I like to start with a fresh surface, and I don't know where these lamps have been. They came from a thrift store after all, and plus the materials like primer and things like that won't stick on to the surface if it has a ton of dust or grease and stuff. So this is just a step that takes a few minutes, especially with lamps, you know, the size of this, and then you're good to go afterwards. See, and just like that, they're clean. There's not a ton of dirt and grime and dust, but enough to where it would not have been good if I just went straight on to my next step, which is going to be sanding. So these are pretty glossy. They have a glossy surface. There's like a little bit of texture, especially where like the rope design is, but most of it is pretty smooth. So I'm gonna take a medium grit sanding pad and just rub it against the surface to roughen it up a little bit. We're going to be putting some primer on there, that's bonding primer, but this will just give us more adherence on our surface than even the primer will. All right, now I think I am looking at this wood part down here on the bottom. Don't know if it's real wood or not, but it looks really nice. And I think I wanna keep that as a detail on these lamps. And it'll kind of end up being a two-toned lamp because I'll be painting the rest of it, but I think it's gonna be pretty neat to have that wood stay on the bottom. So painter's tape for the win. We are going to tape that off down there so that we don't get any paint on it. It is a curved area, so I'm gonna have to do like small strips of the painter's tape, and it's kind of gonna be a little tedious to tape up, but I think it'll be worth it. Next, I am going to be using some primer. This is just some Bullseye 123 tinted in the color gray, and we are going to prime these because, like I said, the surface is still pretty slick. Even though we sanded it, It's still on the slicker side, and I just want to err on the side of caution. Plus I have the primer on hand. You can do this with spray primer, you can do this with brush on primer, and as long as you use the bonding type, then you'll be totally fine. This is water-based, so it should be easy cleanup as well. I'm just going to prime the entire thing, probably 2 coats, and then we'll let that dry and move on. Kind of going in all directions because the look I'm going to be going for at the end doesn't really matter. It's going to be kind of an organic feel, so a kind of all over eclectic look is totally okay. Primer is dry. We've got 2 coats on there. And so I'm gonna set one of these guys aside for now, and we're going to move on to the next step, which entails some spackling. So I wanna add a little bit of texture to the lamps. So we're gonna do that with spackling. It's super simple, and there's really no rhyme or reason to how to apply it. All you need is a little what do you call this thing? Like a paint scraper type of thing. It's plastic, nothing too crazy. And you just grab out some spackling, which this spackling specifically is pink, and it's really neat because it dries white, so you know when you're able to move on to your next step. But all I'm gonna do is start slapping it on there and spreading it out to create some texture around the entire lamp. There's gonna be some areas with like some more spackling than others, but it's gonna kind of turn out to just be very organic and textured. So I'm kind of finding that it's a little bit easier with just applying it with my hands, honestly. So I'm just going to be using these gloves and applying the spackling all over. Just because this is a more of a curved surface, my putty knife can't really get into and around all these curves like I wanted it to. So my hands can kind of form a little bit better to the lamp. I think this one's done as far as putting the spackling on. Now the spackling does need to dry for quite some time, and then we'll come back and see if there's like any areas where I may want to add a little bit more or sand any away. But we've got the gist going here on the first guy. I think we're all covered up. So now I'm gonna pull this one over and we're gonna do the same thing. Now the moment we've all been waiting for, at least the moment I've been waiting for, is to paint. It's time to paint these things. So the spackling, I just let it dry for an entire day because it's pretty thick on there, and although it does dry to the white from being pink, I just wanted to be sure so that I wasn't you know, painting over wet spackling. I really am digging the way that they look. I know that they look probably a little crazy right now, but they are going to get better once we paint them. I'm gonna sand down the, like, the high points a little bit, just where it's super majorly textured. We're still gonna have texture, but there's some peaks that I'm just like, that's kind of a lot. And I just have a sponge sandpaper, and we're just going to kind of knock back some of that texture just a little bit. I gotta get rid of all this dust somehow without getting these wet, because then it'll reactivate the spackling, I think. Are you ready to find out the color? The color is Olive Wreath from Lily Moon Paint, and it's a green color, and I kind of just asked Neiman what color he thought I should do the lamps, and he said green, so we're going with green because I really didn't have a set color, and I don't think I've really seen like a green lamp in this style. I usually see them in like a black or like a white or tannish neutral color, so this should be kind of fun. I'm using my round Zibra brush to get into all the nooks and crannies, and I think I'm just going to kind of paint it on. I don't know, I think I like the texture, so I may kind of try to leave some of that white underneath like that in some areas, and then make it a little bit more opaque. Wait, opaque is not see-through, right?
Opaque is not transparent.
Yeah, so a little bit more opaque in some areas, but also a little bit see-through in some areas. Got the first coat on both of these lamps, and I'm really liking how it's looking. It is kind of, after I worked with it a lot, it's kind of taking off some of the paint and the spackling now that it's super wet. So I'm going to let this first layer of paint dry, and then I'm going to go back in, because although I do like the white coming through, I do think that there's still a bit too much white coming through, especially when it's all drying down. So I'm gonna wanna cover some more of that up with my green, and I'll do that once the first coat is dry. All right, both layers are dry, and I'm really loving the way that they look. I think it was the right call to do just a little bit more paint, because I think there was a bit too much white popping out. But now I feel like we've got the perfect mix. So I'm gonna go ahead and take all the tape off and see what we're working with. Okay, I'm really glad that I kept that wood. It's a cool contrast for sure. I'll have to do a little bit of touching up down around the bottom edge, but looking good. Okay, I got the touch-ups done on these guys, and I did find some lampshades that I think are gonna work. I found them at Target, but you can always look at thrift stores for lampshades as well, especially if you are on a budget. I wasn't able to find two matching ones for these specifically at the thrift store in time to make this video, but don't sleep on thrift stores for the secondhand shades as well. Sometimes they even come with the shades, but sometimes they are outdated, so you may just need to replace them in general. They're about $20 on average for like a larger lampshade that would fit this large of a lamp. So I am going to get the lampshades on and show you the final reveal. Okay, so here are the final results of the lamps. I personally love them, and that is just great because I've decided that I'm gonna keep them for myself So don't need to worry about selling them or anything. Now, the one thing that I am a little bit iffy on still is the lampshades. So I went and bought some lampshades. The first ones I bought were way too small and just didn't look good at all. So I returned those and went to Target, and I got these white ones. And I know that, you know, this style of lampshade is in right now. I got white, but I'm not sure 100% if I like the white look or if I should lean more toward a more like maybe an oatmeal color, you know, kind of a little bit more of a warm tone. So for now, I'm just going to be using this color for the end of the video, but I may be switching it in the future before I take this plastic off. So let me know down in the comments, what do you think of these white lampshades versus maybe a more warm tone? Like, I like the white, but does it go well with the remainder of the lamp and just does it all vibe? I don't know. So let me know down in the comments, but this is the end of the video, and I just hope that you enjoyed taking this little journey with me of changing these lamps. They, I guess, went from green to green, but they just have a little bit of a different style. I like the more organic look. I like how the white is popping through the green, and I'm also super glad that I decided to keep this wood element down here because I think it just breaks it up a tad bit more and gives it a little bit more interest. So again, down below in the comments, what do you think about the lampshades? Would you try this? If you went to a thrift store and found a pair of lamps for, you know, $8 each, that's a pretty low buy-in for a lamp. I went to those Walmarts and Targets and I was seeing the lamps for about $30 to $50 each, and then plus you've got to purchase the shades as well. So this can be done on a budget, and if you enjoy some smaller DIY projects, this might be right up your alley. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next Thursday for another furniture flip, and I'll see you on the flip side.